Andy Lynch, fund manager in European equities at Schroder Investment Management. He sees around $2 billion, including holdings in several European banks. And I would imagine that you'd be rather happy to see those quite dramatic and maybe surprising rises in those Italian, Spanish and French banks since the open.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the question last week was, are these banks in deep trouble? Is the large quantities of government debt that they were holding being questioned? With the floor being put under those investments now by the European Central Bank, that's very good news in the short term. The longer term question is, in a sense, who can keep on paying for this? Because Italy and Spain were supposedly big contributors to the Financial Stability Fund. Now they've quietly seemingly turned to be net beneficiaries. And so there are fewer and fewer backs being asked to take a greater and greater burden. And that trend at some point has to come to an end.
Can you describe the sort of week we're about to have? Because we had one heck of a week towards the end of last week. But today, maybe things are pulling back from the depths of despair. What's your feeling?
I think we'll see, certainly in Europe, a positive take on this first thing, because a clear risk near term has been taken away. Italy and Spain are not going to collapse into a death spiral in the next couple of weeks. Longer term, the bigger question that's raised of who is actually going to pay for it, and is there enough money within Europe to bail out Italy and Spain, has yet to be answered. But I don't think the market is going to focus on that, at least for the first couple of days.
What difference will the downgrade in the United States have for us here in Europe?
For us here in Europe, very little in the short term. Longer term, it could be quite significant if it has an impact on, not on Wall Street. This is not news to Wall Street, but it could well be news to Main Street. Suddenly, the USA, someone says, you're no longer AAA. That could have a very big effect on consumer confidence in the US. If we see the consumer in the US take another step back because of that, we could see the US fall back into recession. And that would then have a very, very big impact on us here in Europe. So I think the thing to do is watch the consumer confidence data coming out of America, the surveys, to get a feel for how this is playing actually in the real America rather than just in New York.
What sort of buying opportunities are here in Europe right now? Do you have to be a very brave person to venture into the equity markets, or do you know what? You're doing okay.
I think there are some clear opportunities out there, but you have to sort of be brave enough to say, I can lock this money up for 2 to 3 years, and as a result, intraday volatility like we saw last week doesn't matter to me because I'm not looking to sell it in the next few days. If you can have that longer term view, there are lots of companies in Europe that have got sound balance sheets, so they're not in hock to the banks, they're not beholden. Within the mid-cap arena, there's a great little company called Lectra, has got net cash on its balance sheet, for example.
A lot of companies have an awful lot of cash on their balance sheets.
So there are lots of businesses out there that are completely sound and not reliant on the capital markets. Other ideas, look longer term and say, what is the world going to need more of in 3 years' time? And one great theme we're playing is oil. That as people in the world get richer, get more cars, we're all going to, as a world, going to need more oil. The oil services sector is a way to play that ever-increasing demand for crude oil. And there are lots of companies all across Europe that are geared into that theme. So if you can take a step back, not worry about the near-term noise, and look 3 years ahead, there are some great opportunities out there.
It's what every financial advisor has always told me, look for the long term.
Well, it is actually correct.
Yeah.
It's just a bit painful with weeks like the one we just had.
Andy Lynch, really good to talk to you. Thanks
Andy,
very much
thank
indeed.
you.